All right, so today we're doing a deep dive on, well, I guess you could say one of the most iconic images of our time. Bold statement.
Well, I think it's fair to say that Banksy's Girl with Balloon is pretty darn iconic.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
I mean, think about it. It's everywhere.
It really is. Like, you see it on T-shirts, murals, even tattoos.
Exactly. But, and here's the thing that gets me, what is it about this seemingly simple image that's captivated so many people?
Well, I think that's what we're going to try to uncover today.
Awesome. So we got some good sources to work with.
We do.
Some Wikipedia on Banksy.
Yeah, always a good place to start.
And this document, it's called Girl with Balloon by Banksy, a symbolic street art icon.
Sounds promising.
Yeah, it should be fascinating to unpack the symbolism, the history behind this artwork, and, its impact on, I guess, pop culture.
Totally. And to think it all started with a stencil and some spray paint on a bridge in London.
Okay, so before we get to the girl and her balloon, let's talk about the artist, Banksy.
All right, the mysterious Banksy. So mysterious. Who are they? Like, what do we actually know about them?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Nobody knows for sure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Banksy's true identity is this big ol' mystery, and I think that adds to the allure of their work.
I think so, too. It's like this whole other layer of intrigue.
Exactly. But what we do know is that Banksy's artistic journey started back in the 90s.
Okay, the 90s?
Yeah, part of the Bristol underground graffiti scene.
So were they just like running around with spray cans, tagging buildings?
Well, not exactly.
Ah.
Banksy's known for using stencils to create their art.
Stencils?
Yeah, it's pretty clever, actually.
Yeah, how so?
Well, stencils allow for speed and replication, which is key when you're creating art in public spaces, especially when you might not exactly have permission, shall we say.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's got to be quick and easy to reproduce.
Right. Plus, it creates these bold graphic images that are instantly recognizable.
Like their signature style.
Absolutely. And it definitely fits with Banksy's whole mysterious persona, appearing out of nowhere, making a statement.
And then, poof, gone.
Exactly. Vanished back into the shadows.
It's kind of brilliant, actually.
Yeah, I think the anonymity is super effective.
Right. It keeps the focus on the art itself and the message rather than, the artist's personal life or backstory.
Exactly. It lets the art speak for itself.
Speaking of messages, Banksy's art isn't all just pretty pictures, right? There's usually some kind of social or political commentary woven in.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so To Girl with Balloon.
Okay.
First appeared in 2002, right?
That's right, 2002 in London.
London. And where exactly in London?
It was on a bridge.
On a bridge. Interesting choice of location. Was it like a famous bridge?
Not particularly, but the bridge itself, I think, adds to the symbolism of the piece.
Okay, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But first, 2002. That was a pretty turbulent time, right? Post 9/11, the lead up to the Iraq War.
Definitely. A lot of global upheaval, people were disillusioned.
Yeah. Feeling lost, questioning authority.
Exactly.
Do you think Banksy's work from this era, like Girl with Balloon, reflects that sentiment?
Absolutely. It definitely reflects the anxieties of that era. But, and I think this is crucial, it also offers a glimmer of hope.
Okay, so about these London murals, I read that none of the originals actually still exist today. Why is that?
Yeah, that's true. It's the nature of street art. It's ephemeral, it's meant to be temporary, it's supposed to exist in the moment and kind of interact with its environment.
So it's almost like as soon as it's created, it's already starting to fade away.
Right.
But here's the thing, that impermanence, it makes some pieces crazy valuable.
It's ironic, isn't it?
Totally. Like
What?
there's this shop in Shoreditch.
Okay.
It had a girl with balloon on it.
Oh, right. I remember reading about that.
So they sold the mural. They actually removed it from the building.
And then it was sold again for even more money.
It's wild. Like, can you really own a piece of street art? Doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose?
It's a good question. It's this clash between street art's rebellious roots and the art market trying to commodify it. It makes you wonder about the role of art in society,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is it meant to be exclusive? Locked away in a gallery or a private collection? Or should it be out in the open, accessible to everyone?
Right. It's like, does art imitate life or does life imitate art? And then what happens when you throw millions of dollars into the mix?
Right.
Things get complicated.
For sure. Okay, but let's bring it back to Girl with Balloon for a minute.
Okay.
When you look at it, what's the first thing that pops into your mind?
I think for me, it's a sense of longing.
Longing.
Yeah, like that feeling of reaching for something that's just out of grasp. Maybe something you've lost or something you're desperately hoping for.
That's interesting. For me, I think it evokes a bit of melancholy.
Melancholy, I can see that.
You got this little girl reaching for this heart-shaped balloon,
Yeah.
and it's drifting away.
Yeah, there's definitely a sense of sadness there, like maybe a missed opportunity.
Right. It's like those things we desperately want, but can't quite hold on to. Maybe we had them once, but now they're slipping away.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling. It's universal. It's part of the human experience.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break down some of the symbolism here.
Okay.
The red heart. What do you think that represents?
Well, the heart is often associated with love, hope, maybe even innocence.
Right. And it's just out of reach, drifting away.
Exactly, symbolizing how those things can be fleeting, fragile, easily lost.
Okay, and the girl, obviously, she's reaching out, she's yearning for that balloon.
Yeah, she represents the longing, the pursuit of those things, the desperate attempt to hold on to them.
Okay, I'm starting to see the layers here. Now, what about the bridge? I mean, is it just a random setting?
I don't think so. Remember, this is Banksy we're talking about. Everything is deliberate. Everything has meaning.
So the bridge isn't just a bridge.
Right. It represents transition, a point of change, of moving from one state to another.
Whoa, hold on. There are layers to this. I never would have thought about the bridge that way.
But it makes sense, right? It reinforces the themes of change, of things slipping away, of moving on.
Okay, that's super clever. So Banksy chose that specific location to enhance the message.
Exactly. See, nothing is random with Banksy.
Okay, now I'm really curious about the color choice. Why is the balloon red? It's the only pop of color in the whole image.
Right, and red is such a powerful color, it grabs your attention.
Yeah, it's definitely the focal point of the piece.
And it's associated with so many things. Passion, urgency, even danger.
You think that was intentional? Like, is Banksy saying that these things, love, hope, innocence, are intense but fleeting?
I think it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, those moments can disappear as quickly as a balloon slipping from your grasp.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this stark black and white figure against that single splash of red. It's like those intense moments of joy or love, they stand out against the backdrop of a world that can be pretty harsh, but they don't always last.
That's a really insightful interpretation. It shows you how carefully constructed this image is. It's not just a pretty picture, it's a visual metaphor.
So we've got this girl reaching for her dream, her hope, her love, all symbolized by this red balloon.
And it's literally floating away.
Yeah, and the bridge, it adds this whole other layer of meaning about change, about transitions, maybe even the fear of those things.
It's pretty deep when you really start to unpack it.
It really is. And that fear, something we all relate to, right?
Oh, absolutely.
The fear of losing what we care about, the fear of things slipping away from us. Girl with Balloon taps into those very human anxieties.
And it's done in such a simple yet powerful way.
But, and I think this is important, there's also this glimmer of hope, right?
Right.
It's not all doom and gloom.
Definitely.
It's like it's saying, yeah, life's tough, things don't always go your way, but keep reaching, keep striving, keep believing.
It's a message that resonates, especially when you consider the context of when it first appeared. The world was in a very uncertain place.
Okay, so Girl with Balloon appears in London in 2002.
Yeah.
But what happened to it after that? Did it just fade into the background like most street art?
Actually, it didn't. Girl with Balloon has been adapted and reinterpreted over the years, both by Banksy themselves and by other artists.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those versions. There's one on the West Bank barrier.
Right. That one's powerful.
Well, it shows the girl floating above the wall, holding onto balloons. And then there's the one with the Syrian refugee girl and the hashtag with Syria.
Yeah, that one really resonated with people.
It's amazing how the same image can take on all these different meanings depending on the context.
It speaks to the enduring power of a simple yet impactful image.
Right. It becomes a reflection of the issues of our time, but it retains that core message of hope, of longing.
Exactly. It's both timely and timeless.
Okay, so we've established that Girl with Balloon is more than just a pretty picture. It's layered with symbolism, it speaks to these universal themes, and it's been adapted to address some pretty serious issues.
It's really become a phenomenon.
But I'm curious about its impact beyond the streets. Like, how did this piece of street art become so mainstream?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll definitely dig into after a quick break.
Sounds good. We'll be right back with more on the world of Banksy and the story behind Girl with Balloon.
Stay tuned. So where were we? Ah, yes. Girl with Balloon becoming a mainstream phenomenon.
Yeah, it's wild. It's gone way beyond the streets. You see it everywhere on posters, T-shirts.
Oh, yeah, even tattoos. It's become this, I don't know, almost a pop culture icon.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get it. It's visually appealing, but there's got to be something deeper going on, right?
I think there is.
Like, how did this piece of street art become so mainstream?
Well, for one thing, it taps into something universal.
Universal.
Yeah, like that yearning for connection, for hope,
Okay.
for something better. And in a world that feels kind of chaotic and uncertain, that message just resonates with people.
It's true.
Yeah.
I think even though the balloon is floating away, the fact that that girl is still reaching for it gives us this sense of, even when things feel out of reach, don't give up hope.
Exactly.
There's still something to strive for.
It's that resilience.
That's what makes it so powerful.
It's almost a symbol of defiance.
And it's not just on T-shirts and stuff.
Nope.
I've seen it used in social and political campaigns, which is kind of crazy when you think about it.
It is. When you think about it, this piece of street art created probably in the dead of night,
Right.
now being used to advocate for change on a global scale.
It's really come a long way.
It shows you the power of art.
To transcend boundaries.
Absolutely.
You can start as like a whisper on a wall and end up as a roar heard around the world.
Love that, a whisper to a roar.
And it's challenged the traditional art world too, right?
Oh, big time.
By remaining anonymous
Mm-hmm.
and working outside of like the gallery system. I feel like Banksy has forced people to rethink what art is.
Yeah, like who can create it and where it belongs.
Totally. It's a democratization of art in a way.
It really is. It's like saying art isn't just for the elite, it's for everyone. You can find it in the streets,
On the sides of buildings, unexpected places.
Exactly. And it makes you think, like, what is art? Who gets to decide what's valuable?
It's a good question. I mean, it's great that art is becoming more accessible,
Yeah.
but it's also like, isn't that kind of co-opting what Banksy is trying to critique?
That's the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Banksy's work is anti-establishment. It's anti-consumerist.
But it's being reproduced and commodified like crazy.
You got it.
It's kind of ironic.
It really is. This whole tension between art and commerce came to a head in a spectacular way, might I add, with that shredding stunt
Oh, yeah. The Sotheby's auction?
in 2018.
That was wild.
Totally wild.
All right. So for those who haven't heard this story, picture this.
Yeah.
You're in a packed auction house. Bidders are going nuts over this framed girl with balloon.
People with way too much money.
Okay, maybe. But anyway, it sells for over £1 million.
And then the unthinkable happens.
It starts to self-destruct.
right in front of everyone's eyes.
So there's a shredder hidden in the frame.
Which Banksy controlled remotely.
Like some kind of art heist.
the ultimate art heist.
It was insane. And then, of course, that partially shredded artwork, now renamed Love is in the Bin.
Oh, yeah. Love is in the bin. I love that.
It became even more valuable.
It's brilliant, right? It was this giant middle finger to the art market, this whole idea that art is just a commodity to be bought and sold.
It's like they were saying, you think you can control this. You think you can own this. Think again.
And the art world was stunned. They didn't know what to do.
It was genius. It totally flipped a script.
It made everyone question what it means to own a piece of art.
Okay, so we've gone from these mysterious origins to global icon to self-destructing artwork. It's been a crazy ride.
A wild ride, for sure.
But through it all, it feels like Girl with Balloon, it's not just about the spectacle, right? There's something more there.
It's still about those universal themes. Love, loss, hope, that fleeting nature of it all.
The shredding just adds another layer.
Another question to ponder.
With all this going on, why do you think this image still captivates us? What is it about Girl with Balloon that keeps people coming back?
I think it's the combination of simplicity and complexity.
Simplicity and complexity.
No,
Okay, explain.
The image itself is simple. It's easy to recognize, it's easy to reproduce,
Yeah.
which makes it perfect for all those T-shirts and adaptations.
Okay, that's the simplicity part. What about the complexity?
Well, beneath the surface, there's this depth of emotion,
Yeah.
this exploration of universal themes that resonates with people from all walks of life.
So it's like that saying, less is more.
Exactly. The simplicity lets us project our own experiences onto it.
It becomes a reflection of ourselves, of our
Yes.
hopes and fears.
Exactly.
And let's not forget, it originated as street art, which is often seen as rebellious, right? Anti-establishment. It's like this little piece of rebellion that we carry with us.
A reminder that we don't always have to follow the rules.
And of course, there's the whole mystery surrounding Banksy's identity.
Oh, yeah. That adds fuel to the fire.
We're drawn to the unknown,
Yeah.
this enigmatic figure out there creating art that makes us think, that makes us feel.
It makes us question everything.
Okay, so we've talked about the symbolism, the artist's intentions, the cultural impact, the shredding stunt, the whole shebang.
It's a lot to unpack.
But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I want to go back to technique for a minute.
Okay.
I mean, Banksy is essentially a graffiti artist, right?
At their core, yeah.
And their mastery of stencils is a key part of their success.
Definitely. It's not just about spraying paint on a wall.
Ah,
There's real artistry in creating these stencils, these multi-layered images that can convey so much with so little.
so how does this stencil thing actually work? I've tried stenciling before.
Yeah.
And let's just say my pumpkins didn't exactly turn out Banksy level.
Well, first you need a design.
Okay, a design.
And Banksy often works with these bold graphic images that translate well to stencils.
Okay, and then you have to actually create the stencil.
Yeah, which involves cutting out the design on a material like cardboard or acetate. So it's basically a negative space where the paint will go.
So you got your stencil, you got your spray paint. What happens next? You just like go out in the middle of the night and start spraying.
Well, it's a little more involved than that.
Yeah.
Location is key.
Okay, location.
Banksy chooses spots that are strategic, often with lots of foot traffic or visibility.
So they scout it out beforehand,
I imagine so.
like in a heist movie.
Exactly. Planning the escape route, the whole 9 yards.
That's so cool. Okay, so you've got the design, the stencil, the location.
Right.
What about the actual spraying? Is there a special technique?
Well, Banksy uses spray paint, obviously, but they've also experimented with other materials.
Like what?
Stencils and even wheat paste.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. And the way they apply the paint is crucial. Using controlled bursts, keeping that stencil flat against the surface.
So no shaky hands allowed.
Not if you want clean lines.
So it's about precision, about using those tools effectively.
Absolutely. And the beauty of stencils is they allow for quick replication
So they can create multiple versions.
and spread that message far and wide.
Okay, that makes sense. And that's part of what makes their work so impactful, right? It's not just in galleries and museums, it's out there in the world.
Yeah, challenging us to think, to question, to engage.
Okay, I'm starting to get a whole new appreciation for the art of stenciling. It's making me want to dig out my old art supplies.
You should.
But before I get too carried away, I have another question about Girl with Balloon.
Hit me with it.
Okay, so we've talked about the symbolism, the technique, the impact, but how does this piece fit to Banksy's larger body of work?
Ah, great question.
Is it just one piece among many, or does it hold like a special significance?
That's a tough one. While Girl with Balloon might be their most recognizable piece, it's definitely not the only one worth exploring.
Okay, goodbye.
In fact, I think it's a great entry point into their wider world of art.
Like a gateway drug.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, I like that.
It gives you a taste of their style, their themes, their ability to communicate these complex ideas with seemingly simple images.
I'm intrigued. So what are some other Banksy pieces that you think really showcase their range and impact? Give me the inside scoop.
Well, one that comes to mind immediately is napalm.
Napalm. That sounds intense.
It is. It's a powerful statement against war. And it shows you how Banksy isn't afraid to tackle difficult subjects.
Okay, what's it about?
It depicts Mickey Mouse and Ronald McDonald flanking a naked, screaming Vietnamese girl. You know, the girl from that famous Napalm Girl photograph.
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah, it's shocking. It's disturbing.
Definitely a far cry from the balloon.
Right. But I think that's the point. Banksy wants to make people uncomfortable, to force us to confront these harsh realities.
So they're not afraid to push boundaries.
Not at all.
So we've got Girl with Balloon, which is hopeful, and then Napalm, this stark reminder of the horrors of war. It's quite the contrast.
Banksy's range is pretty incredible.
Okay, so what other themes do they explore in their work?
Well, consumerism is a big one.
Okay, consumerism.
Yeah. There's this piece called Barcode, where they depict a tiger escaping from its cage, but the cage bars are actually a barcode.
Whoa, that's trippy.
Yeah. Like we're all trapped by consumerism.
We think we're free, but we're actually just cogs in a machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a pretty clever commentary.
And then there's Sale Ends Today, right?
Yeah.
The one with the people lining up to enter a store, and the sign says, Sale ends today for freedom.
Oh, yeah. Classic Banksy.
It's like we're so obsessed with getting a good deal that we'll sacrifice our freedom for it.
It's a really biting satire of consumer culture.
It's like they're holding a mirror up to society, showing us all our flaws and contradictions.
And they do it with a sense of humor, which makes it even more effective.
Okay, so we've got war, consumerism, what else?
Well, they've also done a bunch of pieces on surveillance.
Surveillance?
Yeah, and the erosion of privacy in the digital age, like One Nation Under CCTV, that huge mural in London that criticized surveillance cameras.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. And they eventually painted over it.
Of course they did.
Which kind of proves their point, right?
Exactly. It's like the authorities trying to silence dissent.
So Banksy is taking on all the big issues: war, surveillance, consumerism. It's like they're this rogue philosopher using art as their weapon of choice.
Dismantling the system one stencil at a time.
It's pretty awesome, actually. And they're doing it in a way that's accessible.
Yeah, it's not just for the art world elite, it's for everyone.
It's for the people walking down the street, for the kids who see it on their way to school.
It's art that's meant to be seen, to be talked about, to make people think.
Okay, so after all this, where do you think Banksy's legacy will land? Will they be remembered as like a prankster, a provocateur?
That's a tough one.
Or something more?
I think regardless of whether their identity is ever revealed, their work will continue to resonate.
Because it speaks to something deeper.
Yeah. You know, human nature, our hopes and fears, our struggles.
Our triumphs.
It's timeless and universal, endlessly fascinating.
I hope you're right. It's nice to know that in a world that can feel kind of, I don't know, superficial, there's art out there that's trying to say something meaningful.
It's a breath of fresh air.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
There's always more to uncover with Banksy.
There are so many more pieces to analyze, so many more questions to ask.
That's the fun part, right? The mystery keeps us engaged.
It's like we're on this treasure hunt, following the trail of stencils and spray paint.
Trying to decipher the clues.
Okay, but before we get totally lost down the rabbit hole, let's take a step back and recap some key takeaways from our deep dive into Girl with Balloon and Banksy's wider work.
Sounds good.
So who is Banksy? Or at least, what do we know about them?
Well, we know they came out of the Bristol underground graffiti scene in the 90s.
Right.
But their true identity remains a secret.
And that anonymity is a huge part of their appeal.
Definitely, it adds to the mystique. It lets the art speak for itself. It makes it even more difficult to categorize them.
And they're saying, don't try to put me in a box.
Right. I'm not a brand. I'm not a commodity.
A force of nature.
Exactly. And that force is manifested in countless pieces.
From small stencils to elaborate installations.
Girl with Balloon, it's just one piece of the puzzle.
But it's significant.
Oh, hugely significant.
It's become this global icon, right? This symbol of hope, loss, the fleeting nature of things.
It's interpreted and reinterpreted in so many ways, you know?
From political statements to personal reflections, it's taken on a life of its own.
It really has.
Okay, so we've got the mysterious artist, the iconic image. What about the message? What is Banksy trying to say with Girl with Balloon?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like most of their work, it's open to interpretation, but some of the key themes
Okay, themes.
are the fragility of hope, the inevitability of loss, that tension between what we want and what we can actually attain.
It's like that feeling when you realize life doesn't always go according to plan.
You can reach and reach, but sometimes things just slip away.
It's bittersweet.
It is. But there's beauty in that, you know, a poignancy that Banksy captures so well. The balloon might be floating away, but it's still there.
Yeah, it's still beautiful.
And it's a reminder that even though we can't always control the outcome, we can control our response.
Keep reaching, keep striving.
Believing that something better is possible.
And that's a really powerful message.
It is, especially these days when things feel so unpredictable.
So Banksy is saying, don't give up.
Keep reaching for that balloon, even if it seems like it's floating away.
You never know what might happen.
And that's what keeps us coming back for more, that sense of possibility.
Okay, one final question for you before we wrap up. Do you think Banksy's work, Girl with Balloon in particular, will stand the test of time? Will people still be talking about it in 50 years?
I don't have a crystal ball.
No.
But I think Banksy has tapped into something essential about human experience, something that transcends time and place.
Okay. Yeah.
Their work speaks to our hopes and fears. That's always going to be relevant.
I hope you're right. It's nice to know that there's art out there that's actually trying to say something meaningful.
In a world of fleeting trends, it's refreshing.
Okay, so Girl with Balloon.
It's simple, yet profound.
Accessible yet thought-provoking.
It's a reminder that art can be found in the most unexpected places, and that a single image can have the power to change the way we see the world.
Well said. And on that note, we're going to take another quick break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to explore even more of Banksy's world and their impact on art and culture.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Banksy. We've talked a lot about Girl with Balloon, but now I'm kind of curious about their wider influence,
Yeah, the bigger picture.
Exactly. Where does Banksy fit into the whole, I guess, art history thing?
That's a big question,
It is.
and one that causes a lot of debate in the art world.
Oh, how so?
Well, some people see Banksy as this revolutionary figure who's completely changed the game.
I mean, they kind of have, haven't they?
They've blurred the lines between street art and fine art.
Yeah, that's true. You don't really see that very often.
And they've made us rethink what we consider valuable.
It's true. They've gone from like stencils on city walls to pieces in museums.
Fetching millions at auction.
Millions. It's a pretty impressive journey.
It really is. And I think it reflects how the art world itself is changing.
Okay, yeah.
Street art, which was once dismissed as just vandalism.
Yeah, I remember those days.
It's gaining recognition as a legitimate art form.
And Banksy has played a huge role in that shift, right?
Huge role.
With their social commentary, the humor, the skill. It's undeniable.
Yeah, Banksy has this unique ability to connect with people, to make them think.
It's like they've given a voice to those who are often unheard,
Using public spaces to address issues that the mainstream art world might overlook.
Exactly. And the fact that they're anonymous, it kind of adds to their appeal, right?
Oh, definitely.
It avoids the whole cult of personality that surrounds a lot of famous artists.
The art becomes the focus, not the person.
It's refreshing, in a world obsessed with celebrity.
Totally.
Banksy's this enigma who lets the work speak for itself.
Like, don't focus on me, focus on the message.
And that message is often challenging authority.
Advocating for social justice.
Yeah, encouraging us to be skeptical.
To question the systems around us.
So we've established that Banksy is like a game changer.
Definitely a game changer.
But how do they compare to other artists throughout history? Are there any, influences or similarities we can draw?
That's interesting. You can see echoes of Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol.
Really? In their use of pop culture imagery, their critique of consumerism.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Both of them taking these familiar images, flipping them.
Yeah, using them to comment on society.
And what about those artists who use text in their work?
Oh, yeah, like Barbara Kruger and Jenny Holzer.
They use those bold, graphic, strong statements
to convey social and political messages.
So Banksy is kind of part of this lineage, right? Artists who use their work to engage with the world, challenge the status quo.
Yeah, pushing people to think differently.
I like that. Do you think that's what will ultimately define Banksy's legacy?
I think so.
Like their place in art history?
They've captured the essence of our times,
Our anxieties, our aspirations.
And they've done it in a way that's both visually striking and intellectually stimulating.
And they've done it all while remaining completely anonymous. It's mind-blowing.
It really is. It leaves us with so many questions. Who is Banksy? What motivates them? What are they going to do next?
It's that mystery that keeps us coming back for more.
Keeps us guessing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to turn the conversation over to our listeners.
Okay, yeah.
What does Girl with Balloon, what does Banksy's work in general mean to you?
What thoughts or emotions does it evoke?
Share your interpretations, your reactions. Let's keep this conversation going.
Because art is at its most powerful when it sparks dialogue.
It's a conversation starter.
A catalyst for thought.
A reflection of who we are.
As individuals and as a society.
And who knows, maybe one day that mystery of Banksy's identity will be solved. But until then,
enjoy the ride.
Appreciate the art for what it is.
And use it as fuel for critical thinking.
For meaningful conversations.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a blast exploring the world of Banksy and Girl with Balloon.